Fresh off a midweek win against Illinois last night, and now another big weekend at home at Charlotte West Stadium against Evansville this weekend. It's the coach, Jen Sewell, for Saluki softball. Fresh off a series win against Bradley, and then, like we said, the midweek win last night against Illinois. Coach, good midweek win, and I know as we've all looked at it, you want to try to find those opportunities just to get your team more chances. It's kind of got to be a little bit of a ballet dance, right? You got to get the timing right in terms of the week with your class schedules, et cetera. It just happened to work out well with Illinois last night.
Yeah, it was nice to get them. You know, we got wiped of those big RPI games in Florida, which was unfortunate. With a chance to see Illinois, I think Penn State and Ohio State. We're trying to get one back on, and Illinois is kind enough to host us again. And I thought it had a big game feel. It had a postseason feel. You know, big stadium, sort of the hype that surrounds, you know, some of the games that we'll need to play in regionals, and it really benefited us. We spent a lot of time staring at their rather large scoreboard, and then, you know, got back to work, and you know, those Big Ten teams have big game feels to them, and they do it right. So it was nice to get in there and get a win.
Well, on the other side of it too is we said coming out of the Northern Iowa weekend that you really wanted to see how your team would respond, and my goodness, they did respond. I mean, to go on the road to win a series in really tough conditions every day that you were there in Peoria, to then turn around and win a midweek against Illinois. What have you seen within the last week since that Northern Iowa series that you really like the response of your group?
Yeah, and I think it's just, you know, we've cut down on the midweeks a little bit, and I think it's helped us be fresher for bigger midweeks. But I felt like on the bus ride yesterday or a couple days ago that I felt like we were fresher for this game than we were for the Tuesday UTM game, and I thought we kind of had enough time to sort of reset and realize what we needed to do on the road. And I think this is part of the season where you're really in rhythm, and as long as you stay in that rhythm of playing once in the middle of the week and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're either practicing or playing, you can really start to get on a roll. So I'm hoping with this section of the schedule, we're really going to start to play really consistent softball. We're starting to see that, especially offensively and defensively. The defense has really stuck it lately, and offensively, a lot of kids are starting to get going. So,
you mentioned the offense really starting to get going. What do you credit to where that's really starting, other than just weather? Typically, it should be getting better and getting warmer. I know you've been in colder weather, but what are areas where you see, like, man, this is what I'm most excited about offensively here lately?
Well, I think it's the bottom of our lineup is producing a lot of those on-base situations to then turn it over to the top, to the Jackie, Warwick, Jones, Hamilton types, and then to see Addie Baker get going, Aaron Lee's in the 400s over the last 8 games, and then the 2 little slappers who are producing big numbers right now. There's starting to be that gelling effect where there's another couple hitters that are over there on that bench that can come in and help us. When you're 6, 7, 8, 9 are really playing hot, that's when you know, okay, we're getting the whole lineup to get together. And we're not tweaking the lineup as much. We're probably flipping maybe 1 and 2 or maybe 7, 8, 9 a little bit. But I think they're starting to really feel it. That's probably from playing every day versus practicing 3 days a week and then playing on the weekends. I think that's where the midweek helped us a little bit.
Of course, the challenges with all those scheduling, you kind of touched up on a little bit of, all probably really is a reflection of what type of team you have and how you think they can handle it. But there's those other challenges too. I mean, which how much you want to divulge you can, but you got a really crazy class schedule for your ladies. So, like, take the fans through of how difficult it is. One of, you want to test your team, no question, throughout the year, but all the different hurdles you really have to jump through to say, okay, this is when we maybe got to have a midweek here. This is where it really sets up well, or maybe I need to also step off, because at times I think in today's day and age we all forget about the academic side where it can be, especially those majors that your ladies have.
Well, and you know, you have 8 seniors right now, and they're as much focusing on graduation as well, right? So they're paying attention to things like Sid Jones is going to be applying to orthodontic school. You know, Hannah Hockerman is already teaching in a classroom on Mondays, an hour away. You know, you have classes being taken that are like biochemistry and physics and biomechanics and things like that. We have PT majors, medical majors. Jenna Christensen already in nursing clinicals. There's times when that kid has worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then come to practice. So many of those seniors we don't see consistently during the week. They come before or they come after practice, and they maybe catch 30 minutes of practice. So there's a lot of work to be done on the outside of just that practice schedule, which is maybe this time of year, maybe a 2-hour time block. And there's times when when we're lifting, we lifted on Tuesday at the field because we simply could not get into the weight room. So we went through a quick, weight circuit just to get something to get our bodies recovered and going. So, this is a 3-8 team GPA, and they want to play ball, but they also want to be good in the classroom. So, managing that, you have to really trust them to sort of fit those parts and pieces in around a 90-minute practice schedule. So I think, there's times like today when we're not going to practice till 4 o'clock because it's the one chance to have most of the team together. So,
Yeah.
and then there's like a Jenna Christensen is in clinical today, so she's not going to see a practice until 5 o'clock. So.
We've talked so much about Liz Warwick. We
Yeah.
talked about Mattia. There's, Jackie. I mean, you have so many key pieces to your team this year, Coach Sewell. But one of the names I don't think maybe I've even asked you enough about is Sydney and how big of a role she's played. Of course, currently still leading your team in batting average. She's almost that everyday person you can count on in your lineup. What has she done this year to really, I don't know, maybe separate herself, but what has she done to really put up the numbers that she's been able to put up consistently, and how at times maybe I don't think she gets overlooked by you or the staff, but sometimes it feels like there's a lot of attention that goes elsewhere, but she deserves a lot of that attention.
Well, I think when you transfer from one 4-year to another, you're just looking for a change of environment a little bit, and you're looking for some belief. And I think she just needed to believe in her skills. She knew how good she was. I think she just wanted her environment to believe in how good she was. And that's from her teammates. And she's put in a lot of extra work. Her and MJ sometimes hit for 30 minutes. She's another one 2 or 3 days a week. We don't see her in the main practice time. So she has to work outside of practice a lot. She's brilliant. She will be somebody's orthodontist. She'll be putting braces on your kid one day. She's already doing that in a clinical setting. But I think she's more relaxed. I think she's more comfortable. She loves her team. She likes the training environment. And I mean, it's one of those kids it's what the transfer portal probably is for. It's just a complete reset. And I think she got that. She's one of those really just great human beings and very easygoing. Loves the classroom, loves the ball field, likes to train. Really has come into her own in the weight room. So it's just a really feel-good story for her.
Sometimes just the results don't go your way, Coach Sewell, but take me into the mindset of the team you have. And what I'm really kind of diving in is you can tell when teams get in those close games, when the innings start to shrink, when the number of outs you have to work with are low, there's just that extra competitive drive of we're going to do everything in our power to make sure we win this game.
Yep.
If that means I got to rip your heart out, I'm going to rip your heart out. Where do you feel your makeup of your team this year is from having the right competitors within your team? And I'm not even talking about all the ladies who play every day, just all the way through your dugout. Where do you see your team at in having that type of mindset?
Yeah, I mean, the best part about last year is we learned so much about their toughness last year because they had no choice, right? This year we have some choices. So you could choose to relax and pull back on that, but I think that's driven by the upperclassmen for sure. You'll hear that's if I had to sink it into one person, Riley Hamilton is that person for us, and everybody sort of follows that energy, that rip your heart out energy. That's Riley. Jackie's a very close second to that, and Maddie or Groff's a very quiet, probably third to that, and then Everly's right up there too. They would, you can see it when you play in the snow, you play in the rain, you play after a 2-hour wait. Those are the types of players that we have, and it'll be interesting, not to think about next year, but you wonder who is that Riley Hamilton. I think it's going to be a Jackie and a Mattia and a Rylan type. But those are the people that I tell them, like, the big joke on the team is, who do you take to a bar fight, like who's going to have your back. And there's a couple of people that are going to run away because they're just super nice people. But Riley Hamilton and Maddie Everly and Jackie are going to stay, and they're going to go down swinging. And you just see that sort of mentality through the seventh inning. And I think it showed up in last year's regional and the conference tournament, and it's rolled over to this year.
Well, it's one of the things that we said was coming, which is hard to believe. But you have
Yeah.
the seven-game homestand upcoming, and that's it. These are your
Yep.
final 7 games at home.
Yeah.
Weekend here with weekend with Evansville this weekend, and you got Missouri State and then Belmont upcoming. When you know these moments are just so few and far between. I mean, 7 home games and then boom, you're on the road and in conference tournament and NCAA regional after that as you hope to work towards those goals. I mean, is there even a conversation you have with your group of like, guys, like these are our last 7 home games. Like it goes by quick. We got to make sure we have everything we have ready to go.
Yeah, and I think the blessing of this team is that we're a really good road team too. I think we've talked about that in previous podcasts, but playing well on the road, so we don't have to necessarily worry about, we got to go perfect at home because we played well on the road. So, I don't think there's that pressure of like, oh, you got to win out at home. I just feel like we're kind of putting out the same effort and the same results at times, home and away. And I think last year that was probably the difference in us, just couldn't quite tighten it up on the road. I think this year we're just paying attention a lot, so we're certainly going to enjoy it. It's going to be odd to have senior day on like April 20th, I think.
Yeah.
But it's sort of the new idea of how the Valley wants to schedule to keep the Southern teams on the road for the last 3 weeks. And I don't think I worry about us too much. I think that's where the chemistry comes in. When you're a good road team, spend a lot of time together, you eat together, you have a hotel room together, you do study hall together. But I think we're as good on the road chemistry-wise. So, and I think we show up ready to go on the road, which is super important.
Looking at Evansville this weekend, a team that seems like continues to improve year by year. Where do you see them this weekend and some of their biggest strengths?
Yeah, and I think we're still we got pretty humbled last year, came out and beat them, and then couldn't get them after that in day 2 and 3. And they present some interesting challenges, some great pitching. We're going to see a couple lefties, I think. And so, I think we're going to be wanting to see them at home, sort of like the Bradley series. And they're a team that you cannot overlook in this conference. They always come up with some big wins. I think they're pitching really well right now. Their record is not indicative of at all what type of team they are. They're hitting the ball. And they always seem to get hot this time of year, and we always catch them at that time when they are playing well.
Well, it's the other area, too, when you look at the conference standings, Coach. I mean, there's not a huge separator.
No.
I mean, there could be that one weekend you want to avoid that can totally flip it to the one weekend that can go really your way, and then it just jumpstarts you. Of course, you have a team that's been through this. You've been through the gauntlet before, but I'm sure that's always got to be part of in the back of your mind. It's why you take it as a game-by-game approach of this season, even though it's long and no question it's a marathon, but man, just one leg of that marathon can really flip it.
Yeah, the team who pays attention one game at a time and takes care of their business wins it normally. I think our goal, obviously, is not to look too far ahead and not to assume that we're going to win it or lose anything. I think it's going to come down at the top to probably 3, 4, or 5 wins is going to, kind of separate out who's 1, 2 versus 3, 4, 5, and 6. And that comes down to who takes care of their business at home when they have it, and then who goes on the road and wins a lot of series. So I think it's a good challenge for our team. We spend a lot of time on the road, but I think it's good for us. It's good, we expect to be on the road, obviously, at Illinois State for the conference tournament, but to be on the road for regionals. So.
Is it a overhype point, or is it people in the media, whether it's like myself or others, or even fans focus on it too, where they see a weekend like you have now with Evansville, and you see Belmont lurking, who's just half game back of you right now in second. Is that even a conversation you have with your group, or do you just trust of what you've done all the way since the fall, that your group is mature enough to know it is that game-by-game approach that we just talked about at length?
Yeah, I think the Bradley loss on Sunday was probably a good reminder for us. Like, we did a lot of really good things in that game and didn't come out with a win. So it takes one swing, or one pitch. So we really have to pay attention. I think that's where in the past with the regular season, we haven't won that game on Sunday, or we've overlooked, the what some consider the bottom half of the league. There's no bottom half of the league anymore. Everybody can beat everybody. And I think we've already proven that in some of the games that you've seen won and lost. The teams that win it or finish 1-2 and get those top bye seeds are teams that have taken care of their business. If you start looking ahead to a Belmont, and Evansville will absolutely clip you. And that's where we've tried this year to really pay attention. And I think the Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing has really helped us in that schedule. Let's just go this game today, and we'll worry about tomorrow. And I tell them all the time, nobody wins the league today. So we'll see what happens on Sunday at Murray State, but we have to do Friday.
I don't want to curse it, but the weather looks great this weekend. I think it may be your first full warm weekend.
I heard somebody say it started raining in the warm-up on yesterday, and the kids were like, don't worry, we've played in the snow. Like, it's just who we are. If it doesn't rain, we're not going to win. And I'm like, well, we should get some sunshine. And I'm hoping that April is going to bring us a little bit better.
Yes, I hope so, too, and no question once you get into the month of May. Coach Zoll, appreciate the time. Good luck this weekend against the Aces.
Appreciate it.